This Tuesday's 5 years since we lost Peter Steele from Typo Negative. Did you ever get to meet Peter, or?
No, I never did, actually. I'm very sad. We had a lot of mutual friends, and everybody had a good story to tell about Pete, and what kind of person he was. Seemed very genuine, and yeah, it's a tragic loss for the scene, of course.
I got a quick story for you. Life of Agony's last record, Broken Valley, we kind of had trouble there at the end with the label, and they shelved the record, and I ended up opening a recording studio in Brooklyn called Method of Groove Studio. And the first week I was open, I only had bands rehearsing there because nobody really knew about it, so try to get people in the door, so I had bands rehearsing there, blah, blah, blah. And I remember it was a long, long night, the first night of the, rehearsal. And I sat there to a lot of bands, and, it really wasn't exactly what I was planning to do with my life at the time. So once the last band left, I was sitting there, and I was pretty upset, and, I wanted to be out there playing and stuff, so I was alone, and I kind of got all a little teary, and I was a little depressed, and suddenly the phone rings, and this is God's honest truth. The phone rings behind me at the studio. The brand new studio phone rings. Hello? Hey, you fucking mountain goat. I hear someone say that to me at 1:30 in the morning, 1:30 a.m. I'm like, Pete? He goes, who do you fucking think it is? Who else calls you a fucking mountain goat? He used to call me a mountain goat because I had the long goatee. I was like, how'd you get this number? He was like, how'd I get the number? I got it online. What do you think? So anyway, long story short, he says to me, I have a proposition for you. He goes, I'd like for you to be in the new rendition of Carnivore. I'm putting the band back together, and I'd like for you to play guitar. You were my first choice. And I just paused. I literally had tears in my eyes still. And he was like, so? What do you say? He was like, why are you silent? And I was like, no, dude. I said, absolutely. I said, I'm honored. And I was like, you just saved me, I basically said to him. You just saved me. You don't realize it, but you just saved me. And I'll never forget that moment on the phone. And I'll never forget him either. And we had great times touring. And he was a great friend. He used to call me his angel on the road. And, he's just one of those special people. If you ever had the privilege to be around him or, have even just a couple of minutes with him, you would know he's just a genuine, he was a genuine, great, great, great person and a genius, a musical genius.
We toured a lot with Pete and looked up to him as not just a fan, but as a friend and a fellow musician. But we were on tour with Typo Negative and Exploited. And Pete worked for the New York City Parks Department. And he called in sick every day of the tour for 20 some odd days in a row. And we were in Kansas, and I have a videotape of him, and he's clicking his heels like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and he's repeating the mantra, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. And he's like, I've been calling sick every day, and they know I'm not sick. I just got to get out of here. And then that was it.
You went home?
They went home, yeah. And it's we had such a blast in that tour. They did like a third of the tour, and that tour went on to, the chaos of that tour was crazy. But that's a good memory of Pete. Pete was like, he did what he wanted to do his way. And I remember when he came out after Carnivore's Repulsion, and we listened to it, they were rehearsing, and we were hanging out, and we were like, he's like, what do you think? And we were like, it's really slow. Like, how are people going to fucking dance to it? Because we were used to his music as Carnivore. And they were an influence of ours, So we were like, it's kind of slow. What are the fucking kids going to do? And he's like, maybe they'll do something different.
Never fails to deliver that fuck you basement dirty sound, And I just loved, I was just so attracted to that sound. And the fact that, that when you research more into a band that you're interested in, you realize that Peter Steele, like with his whole history with the sanitation work and the fact that he was a hard worker and a working man, then you really start seeing this picture that it's just like, these were hardworking men, and these were real people, and the references throughout the songs to different particular landmarks in Brooklyn, and just like it's just real. It was just real raw shit, and I mean, I identify with that kind of stuff, and plus, of course, it's just a unique sound. Pete being like a bass vocalist it's appealing. Their music just sounds so full. I mean, they were the kind of band that, especially in their, World Coming Down to me is a great example because, I feel like that's their most like stripped down album, and there's not so much going on, but even just one vocal track, one of his vocal tracks can just fill out the entire spectrum of sound, And he didn't really need. I mean, I know he layered his vocals at times, but he didn't need that. His voice was strong enough to just fill that shit out.
Well, he was definitely distinctive. Like if you heard Typo or you heard him sing, you knew it was him, and he kind of stood out in a lot of a lot of the music. And whenever you come to Duff's or just about any place, but mainly Duff's, you hear over the night, you hear it. Typo Negative a lot of times being played, and everybody sings it, and everybody seemed to have loved what he did, and it was a very distinctive sound.
Felt a deep connection to Peter. His voice got me through some pretty dark times, terrible times that I don't like to usually talk about, but with a little bit of Typo Negative and focusing on him and his voice and the lyrics and the music, the rest of the band and the music, it got me through a lot of stuff. And I've never lost that connection.
There was a guy who was like slouching on the chair. He was like this. He had his hair here, and he had a gray Mickey Mouse T-shirt and sweatpants. And when I entered the lobby, he said, "Do you need any help?" I was like, "No, thank you. I'm here to interview Johnny Kelly." And he was like, "Well, could I assist you with anything? Could I help you?" And I said, "No, I think I'm fine." I thought he was like just like a random dude from the staff or something because I couldn't see him, and he seemed to be a little off or something. Then he stood up, and he stood up, and he stood up, and I'm a tall woman, but he stood up like, "Fuck, that was Peter." He looked at me and said, "Could I please assist you? I can take you to Johnny." And he saw I had just broke my arm 2 days before, so I had a bandit, I had a, I don't know what's the word in English, but I had a fractured arm that was supported like this, and he was really, really worried. He was like, "Oh, you're hurting or what?" And he asked me like, "Maybe if you're coming to the show, do you need any special assistance?" I said, "Like, no, I'm from Finland. Like, we break bones, like, we get drunk, we don't need any help assist, like, anything." But what happened then, I got the interview perfectly thanks to Johnny. He was excellent. After that, Peter got me a place next to the sound guy in the club, and I got to stand on the beer cases, and I got drinks delivered on me because I had a fractured arm. And after the show, there was an after-show party, and I sat next to him the whole evening, and he poured my red wine. How cool is that? He poured my red wine, and he lit my cigarettes because I was disabled.
What are some of your favorite Typo Negative or Carnivore songs?
Well, I mean, there's so much. It's such a broad spectrum, isn't it? I actually liked the last record a lot. The last record they did, the whole record, it was kind of like, I believe that they would have gone even further into that direction if they would have continued. So it's a tragic loss.
I was literally sitting at home. I was celebrating the birthday of a friend, and the news just trickled in, and we thought it was a joke because he had sort of faked it, before, a few years before that. So we thought, no, it's not happening. It's another joke, and we realized it wasn't a joke, and it was devastating. It spread through my friends like fire. It was terrible. A lot of loyal Peter Steele fans around. It was awful.
Thank you, bro, and we miss you, all of us.
R.I.P. Big guy.